Yes. Good evening. My name's Connor Kurtz, and I'm the new branch manager for the Swift Current Library. And when I say new, I mean brand new, as this is my second day on the job. Thank you. In the coming days, weeks, and months, I look forward to getting to know the library and becoming a part of this great community. I will now turn the podium over to our MC for the evening, Beulah Ghosh. Thank you so much, Beulah.
Thank you, Connor, and welcome to Swift Current. I hope you enjoy your stay. Good evening, and welcome to this evening's Truth and ReconciliACTION, the Path Forward. My name is Beulah Ghosh, and I will be your MC here this evening. I would like to welcome you here today on behalf of the Swift Current and Area Truth and Reconciliation Committee. We are pleased to have you all here in person after 2 years of pandemic restrictions, and we are so happy to announce that this is our 5th annual event. We would now like to ask Darlene Samano to come and read the land acknowledgement.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered here on Treaty 4 territory, the unceded ancestral lands of the Cree, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Nakota, and Lakota nations, and the homelands of the Métis people.
Thank you, Darlene. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission is asking Canadians to explore the past as a way of building a strong future for all people. To support reconciliation in our community, our local committee has hosted these events for the past 5 years. If you have been following us, you will know that we have been holding events once every year for the last 5 years. Our previous events have also had learning and cultural components to them. Learning topics have included reconciliation, 60 Scoop, residential schools, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Last year we hosted, What Does Reconciliation Mean to Me? And this was also very well received, although it was totally virtual due to the pandemic restrictions. This year's event is a 2-part series taking place over 2 days. As you may be aware, the first day, that is today, we will be discussing more on Indigenous history and the path forward. And tomorrow, it will be the Métis Nation history of our area, that is Southwest Saskatchewan. As you know, that Southwest Saskatchewan also has a very rich Métis Nation history, so we will be discussing that, and also the path forward from the Métis Nation's point of view. We will also be recording this event, so I hope it is all right with you that we are going to be recording. I would now like to ask Sylvia Thorburn, our elder, local elder, she's a part of our Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and to open with a prayer. Sylvia.
Good evening. My name is Sylvia Thorburn. I'm from Treaty 6 territory, and I now live in Treaty 4 territory. I'm an Indigenous Cree woman, and I represent the Cree perspective from my homeland in Treaty 6. And I do a lot of opening ceremonies, and I really want to welcome Dale and Mr. Oakes. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. But anyways, I really want to thank you for coming here and sharing your history about Nekaneet and this whole region, because I'm also new here too to Treaty 4, so I don't understand the history of what happened or what the whole history is of this whole Treaty 4 territory. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your your thoughts and your all the knowledge and wisdom that you're going to share with us. So I'm going to open with a prayer, and I'm going to say this in Cree. I'm not long-winded. So I'm just going to say, Askam Tanao, Mantu Aquechimak, Quescape in Tuchtaut, Quescapixquan, Equechimak Mantu, Gawichi Hat, Oke Capec Pixquechik, Ega Equechimak Mantu, Ques or Kai Swepin Getchik, Ques Kai Tehtake, Ques Kai Gantuchtake, Dansi Ewe Wistamakut, Dansoma Egis Baikma Noma in Treaty 6 territory. I asked the Creator to bring a really super blessing on this day because it started out so beautiful, and it's going to start out, it's going to end up beautiful because like the afternoon was so really, it was very happy, and I was really happy to partake in the afternoon events, and I'm just asked the Creator to bless the speakers, bless their traveling, and bless each of every person here that's participated and organized this great event. And I thank each of you for coming here to listen and to understand some of the history of Treaty 4. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you. To all those who are participating this evening with us virtually, I would like to say now, welcome. And we are going to be doing a smudging. And during the smudging, the audio and the video will be turned off. It will be only for a short period. So please just make sure it's not a technological problem. It is just going to turn it off. And as soon after the smudging ceremony is over, everything will be back to the normal, the audio and video. So I would like to now call Elder Larry Oakes and also Dale Mosquito to come and do the smudging for now.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Yeah, we miakasigiak, meaning we're going to smudge. That's the English word. We were fortunate when these people came. Like we had back in those days, the First Nations people, you know, they had curfews. We weren't allowed to mingle in town after a certain time. So we had to get out of town, but most people stayed on the edges of town, basically by the nuisance ground. There was a camp there. And the priests and the RCMP used to come there and say, there's children there. We better take them to residential school. Once again, it was the rancher and farmer neighbors, I'll say, that stood in their way and said, leave these people alone. We were providing the labor and all that, but you know, that's what they did. So there's two situations there already where working together benefited the Nekaneet people. Not having to relocate to another area of the province. All those other areas, they went to residential school. So we probably would have went. When we did our research for the treaty land entitlement, we found that we were part of the Kakawishtaha First Nation. And they used to say, you're part of them, you don't even have a band. But our leader signed, he had followers, they call them, and they signed annuities. They got benefits in the Fort Walsh area. So that's how we were able to claim ourselves as a reserve. So that took a lot of research. And then getting, I guess, validated as a natural reserve that you actually have a claim that you were supposed to get a certain amount of land. That took another process. The First Nations government system, the First Nations, Indian Nations, I guess, Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations, they have assemblies, they have meetings. And we tried to go around, you know, and we got validated finally, and how are we gonna, you know, settle this claim? And at the time, they were allowing unoccupied crown lands available for us to pick. Unoccupied crown lands are most lands in northern Saskatchewan, or the pasture lands. Pasture lands being the PFRA and the provincial pastures, or the leased lands that ranchers hold. Those are occupied. So unoccupied are the pasture lands. So we went around visiting these places to see if they're available. But Chief Gordon Oakes at the time, he said, no, this is not going to work. These people need this land to make a living. We can't go there and forcibly take that, no matter what kind of legislation. So he suggested a purchase policy. Let's buy land from the ones that are willing to sell. Willing buyer, willing seller kind of scenario. And he took it to the FSIN, General Assembly, to lobby the federal government to settle these claims by accessing some dollars so we can buy land. The FSIN Assembly, they basically laughed at that because they said, why are we buying our own land back? So he didn't give up. He was probably related to that Nekaneet guy somehow. But he went to the local RM. He probably talked to some of the local ranchers. He asked them if they could take a motion to their assembly, their annual meeting, to lobby the federal government to access some money to have cash settlements on this claim. So they did. They were successful. They passed it at the the annual assembly of rural municipalities. So once that happened, then the FSIN took notice. The other band said, okay, maybe that is real. So that's another third point there. It was the neighbors, the non-First Nation neighbors that did, looked at things practically, constructively, and said, this is something that we need to do. The fourth one is the Okamauchi Healing Lodge. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's an actual federal penitentiary on reserve. There was a time in the 1990s where the First Nations women prisoners, I'll say, they used to be housed at Kingston, prison for women. That was the only women's prison in Canada. So everybody got shipped over there. And they started to realize that most of the Aboriginal women were from the prairies, meaning Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. So that's when a group of elders lobbied. These women are here because they don't have access to their cultural teachings. So we need to find a way to deliver that. So there was another legislation that was passed, Section 81 of the Corrections and Conditional Release Act, where they started talking of healing lodges and regional facilities. So the federal government, they said they were going to build one in one of the prairie provinces. And then once again, at the FSIN, there was an assembly, there was something tabled. They said if that facility comes to Saskatchewan, it will go to PA. Because Prince Albert is, it's a penitentiary town. There's a lot of penitentiaries there, and there's jails there, provincial jails. So they know how to work with these. So that's where I kind of came introduced to that, and that's where I left it. Okay, it's going to PA, whatever that is. But once again, the town of Maple Creek, the non-First Nations people, they phoned to the reserve, and they said, look at this, there's a request for proposals. You guys want to put one in? And I knew that this thing is going to PA if it comes to Saskatchewan. There's not much use putting in a proposal, but I thought, well, let's go to town and meet with them, just like what we're doing here today. We're here in town, and let's talk and see what the heck we get into. We did that. We come to the conclusion, let's put one in. And guess what? They selected Nekaneet as the host place for that penitentiary. There was something spiritual going on. There was women that were part of the selection committee. They actually used whatever gifts that they have. They put their hand across the proposals, and there was one there that had a different feeling. It was warm or something. That was the Nekaneet little skinny little proposal. So they said, this is the one. And they left the meeting and they went shopping. But, but there's a process, right? When you go through selection that takes hours and hours. But they came to the same conclusion too. So that facility's been there 26 years. There's been about 50 or 60 employees. Over the years, it's about 20 or 25 people from Nekaneet. So you multiply that factor, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 to a family. So that's over 100 people that benefited from that for the last 25 years. We have second generation band members that are working there. Their mothers are getting close to their retirement. And the amount of, I guess, the economic impact that it has in Maple Creek is about $15 million, the former mayor was kind of guesstimating. So it is a factor. And once again, it was initiated by the non-First Nation neighbors, I'll say. So, truth and reconciliation. Maybe that's an example of what a population of people were doing. They were going ahead and doing whatever they thought was best for their area. Whatever was going on, yeah, they were mindful of that, but they didn't stop because of that. So that's the message we would like to get to the young people. Keep working together. If you need to stand up and say something, say it. People are going to believe you. People are going to support you. They're not going to push you in the back of the room. And Swift Current, we see you as basically our city. There's no other First Nation or reservation in this area, in the southwest corner. That's it, Nekaneet. And that's the reason why. There was people that stated their purpose and they stuck to it. That Nekaneet, Chief Nekaneet, when he told his people to stay in the hills, he did tell them, if they come and get me and they kill me, still stay here. So he knew the seriousness of the times there, because you got to remember there was the Battle of Batoche, there was a Poundmaker battle around that time. So there was actual confrontation and war going on. So what we want to do, I think, one of the offerings would be to continue to meet, get permission on what sort of stories we can share. So you can also be aware of the history of North America and our responsibilities to it. I know in business they say there's no such thing as a free lunch. But that also applies in life. Also applies in living in North America, living in a beautiful country. We as Cree people, we've been tasked with continuing the ceremonies to ask for those good things. And we're not saying, believe in that way. No, just saying put a kind thought in your heart, in your mind, and whatever way you can support it, even if it's just thought, that's good. But we do need more people that know how to speak the language. It's always nice to come to Swift Current and meet Sylvia. She speaks Cree. And then southern Saskatchewan, there's not very many Cree. There's a lot of Cree tribes, Cree reservations, but there's not very many Cree speakers. The number we use is we're about 500, and there's 50 of us that still speak Cree. The younger ones are kind of not now. But other reserves east of Regina, there's one that's, I think, 3,000 plus. They have about maybe 2. There's one called the Chap Place. They're about close to 2,000, maybe 1,800 population. I think they have 5. And 3 of them are from Nekaneet or something. So that's going to be one of the, I guess, one of the things thinking ahead. When we're talking of truth and reconciliation, let's figure out what it is we're going to do together. I'm not saying this is what we'll do. We accepted tobacco this morning to come and speak, and we're going to trust that tobacco is going to take us to the right people. Those ones will have the right ideas on how to continue to get the benefits that the Creator gave us that we get from Mother Earth. There's a spiritual element to that. That's what we're sharing. And we'll keep doing that. But the challenge we have now is, in order to really know that traditional way, you pretty well have to do that on a full-time basis. You have to be available on a full-time basis. And that kind of butts up against your need to actually make a living. So eventually we're kind of, I'm thinking, maybe there's going to be a need for full-time elders helpers. These are the ones that are going to learn how to do this stuff. You're going to have to maybe hire full-time medicine men. And it's another equation. You just don't hire one person, you might need to hire 5 or 6 or 7. So you're talking about resource dollars. It's doable, but depends how much you believe your young people. This is not for us, this is for the young people. We're just basically going to set the table, and they're the ones that are going to make the connections. We don't ever tell people how to do their ceremonies or how to interpret their ceremonies, their messages from that. But we'll help them learn how to do that. And we also learn from that. And that's really all we're sharing. We'll share with you what we know. We'll share with you our experiences and the benefits we get. And we'll be able to interpret any questions that you ask that apply to today. A lot of people quote a lot of nice, beautiful sayings from elders. And if you go to ceremonies, somebody will ask you something 20 years down the road and you might remember that saying. But you just don't repeat that saying. You actually tell them how to apply it. How to apply it in today's world, the current times. So going through ceremony allows you to do that. If you don't, you're just going to repeat that quote. It's a nice quote, but you actually have to put practice to it. So that's the difference. Actually talking about it and doing something. Those two chiefs will say, Nekaneet and late Gordon Oakes, that's the kind of people they were. What we're doing here, smudging, we're sharing what we were given. He wouldn't be embarrassed to do that. If we had to do a ceremony here, he would do it right here. And he wouldn't see anybody as non-First Nation or white people. He said, no, you can come here and help. The agreement there, though, is that where we sit in the ceremonies, the elders, it's only the Cree that can sit there. Any other nationality can come there and get the benefit and come and ask for prayer. And any of the sacred knowledges on how to do those, that's only passed on to the person that are going to be doing that work in the future. So if anybody ever says, well, these guys are commercializing their traditional ways, it isn't that. We're already instructed on what we can and can't say. All the stuff I said here has basically already been screened out. There's things that I've been told that are only for that ceremony or for somebody that I'm going to instruct or give that responsibility to. So that's how these things are kept sacred. But everybody can get the benefit. So with that, I thank you. I thank you for listening to everybody here. And keep meeting together. You know, we'll figure this out. We don't know what it is we're going to do moving forward. But we don't need to overwhelm ourselves. We'll just do the next thing one at a time. And once we do that, we'll do something else. Somebody will come up with an idea. And everybody's ideas are valid here. Yeah.
So, is this on? Can you? Is it on? Yeah. So, Nistan and Askaman, I just want to thank everybody for coming out here today. I do want to share something of what Larry talked about and the practicality of it. So, we had a little break between the morning session. They fed us a nice warm, chili with good bannock at the theater, and then we had a little bit of downtime. So, what did I do as a grandfather? My little granddaughter comes up to me. She says, I want to go play. I think Swift Current has playgrounds. So we went and found one. And I have 3 grandchildren. I also have 2 that are living in the city. So a total of 5 kids. And then I guess I'm the 6th component of that. I like playing with my grandkids. If you look at my knees, they're always dirty. My hands are always, they're in mud or dirt or whatever we're working with. So we got out there and we're playing. My granddaughter has I'm not sure what you call it, but she started watching other kids mingle, and they started playing, and then the introductions came. I'm Skyla. Who are you? A total of 5 kids now grew to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they were playing in the playground here. And I thought, wow. Truth and reconciliation. Those are not all First Nation kids. Some kids are from other parts of the world. But in their eyes, they're kids. They don't see that distinction yet. And that's very important. Swift Current is a very diverse community. And what we have in Nekaneet, we realize that. That comes from our teachings. The smudging that we do. If you go to any part of the world, people are smudging. They might not call it smudging, but they are making that reference, making that connection to God, Creator, Allah, Buddha, or whoever, whatever your higher power is. We all make that connection. And that's what, for me today, this is a very historic day. Why? Well, I'm only here by myself, being Larry. But we come from a small community. Tonight or tomorrow, we're going to relay the messages that are happening today. And our community is going to learn from today as well, too. And if we're going to use media to do that, that's awesome, too. That's that balance that we have to have. Larry talks about the Mukabauchi Healing Lodge. So that's where I've been for the past 20 years, too, gaining knowledge. And I call it accelerated learning. Working with women that have seen a lot of things in life, something that I never got to see. But when I see it through their eyes, through their stories, through their experiences, it gives me a better knowledge of what goes on in the world. And what we're tasked with is to help them. So we use our culture. I work with a horse. And if I was to bring a horse in here, a simple question would be, who wants to ride a horse? Some people would do it with a little hesitancy because they say, well, I'm scared of a horse. And I said, well, you know what? This horse, you've never seen him before. Why the fear? So it has a point of origin, right? Our feelings. And that's what Truth and Reconciliation is about. Canada's history. We talk about that. And yes, it does need to get brought out. Why? So that we don't carry it. Save that heart for the good things in life. The good things in life. And that's what our smudge does. When I was sitting here listening to my brother talk, wow. I get reminded of all the great teachers that we've come across that have been our mentors. And I didn't think of it as such, but I guess I was in training. Because I was listening, seeing, observing, participating. And what I like with them little children in that playground, is that it starts, things are much easier when we feel good about doing things. The comfort is there. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Bula. Thank you very much. I think we are going to have a question and answer session in a little bit here, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder Larry Oakes and Elder Dale Mosquito, Miigwech. What we will do now, we'd already have a question from somebody who is watching our session tonight virtually. Please hold your questions. We just will finish a few of the regular housekeeping items, and then we would like to ask Elder Larry Oakes and Elder Dale Mosquito to come back here, answer questions, and add a little more of whatever you think would help us to learn. And I liked yours telling us what the path ahead should look like, how we can keep on this journey and very much alive so that the younger people also can get influenced, and the people who are new to the country also can learn and to make their own decisions of how they are going to participate in this reconciliation journey. But the washrooms of this facility are near the entrance. If you're looking for them, if you're going towards the door from here, it's on the right side. So just to keep that in mind. And I know that you all have your cell phones on silent because we did not hear a single phone ring. So that is good. So just to let you know, we would like now to play a recording of our Mayor Al Bridle, who is a special greeting for all of you, and welcome you to the City of Swift Current Truth and Reconciliation event. So I'd like Derek to please play that.
Good evening. I'm Mayor Al Bridle, bringing greetings on behalf of the City of Swift Current. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to participate in the Truth and Reconciliation events in our community, and I'm especially inspired by the theme of this event, the path forward to ReconciliACTION. It has been said that action speaks louder than words. Nothing could be truer when it comes to the call to action that have come out of the Truth and Reconciliation efforts here in Swift Current. Our local Southwest Truth and Reconciliation Committee is emphasizing calls to action about educational funding, changes to educational curriculum, youth program funding, and, finally, records for missing children from residential school tragedies. They recognize that a reconciled future for our communities belongs to the next generation, which is our path forward. Our collective healing comes first from the acknowledgement of tragedy, and then by moving through pain together, cooperatively pushing for change. On behalf of Council and the City of Swift Current, I would like to acknowledge and thank the presenters and speakers that have given their support, direction, and experience to this event. First off, His Honor the Honourable Russ Marasti, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan. Nekaneet First Nation elders, both Dale Mosquito and Elder Larry Oakes. Métis Nation of Southwest Saskatchewan's Royce Pettijohn. Minister of Veterans, Métis Nation Saskatchewan, Western Region 3's Representative Wendy Gervais. Bula Ghosh, Great Plains College and Southwest Truth and Reconciliation Committee member. I would also like to thank everyone who attended and participated in the events of the college and at Market Square, every heart that has made room for truth and reconciliation, and every foot that marched to bring attention to these critical steps on the path forward to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bridle. I can't thank you in person. He is away, but for his message and support, which means a lot to us. We couldn't move with the path forward on reconciliation without the City of Swift Current's support. We are very grateful for that. And he mentioned Lieutenant Governor Russ Marasti. Lieutenant Governor Russ Marasti was here this morning, and he was present, and he intermingled with the students, and we had a very good time. Unfortunately, we will not be able to play that recording because of some technical problems. It did not get recorded well. But his message was also very much like what Elder Larry Oakes and Elder Dale Mosquito had said, that we need to understand the history, and then that will help us to move with the path forward. We are very fortunate tonight also to have Rhonda Rosenberg, who is the Executive Director of Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan. And Rhonda is very special to us because we, for our financial resources request, we go to Rhonda and say, Rhonda, we are planning this, can you help us? I've never heard her say no. She might not have given exactly what we wanted, but she's always supported us. So we are very, very fortunate to have Rhonda come and say a few words and share her thoughts, because Rhonda participates provincially in truth and reconciliation, anti-racism, multiculturalism, so various things that she does to make our province, better and for all. So I do hope you'll just welcome Rhonda Rosenberg with joining your hands and giving a clap. Rhonda, thank you for coming from Regina and being here with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Bula, and thank you, Knowledge Keepers and Elders Sylvia and Larry and Dale, that your words mean so much to both for us to sit with the truth, the truth that brings us strength, but also truth that can make us uncomfortable. And I think that this is really important for us in the path forward together, that we see it as something that we can do together, that we all have a stake in this future. So I say Kanana Skomitin, and I'm sure I'm not saying that well, but I will learn. And it's really encouraging to see community coming out to this, to learn in this location about the history of this land. And we know that while we're on Treaty 4 land, we know the nations that currently live here. We also acknowledge the Blackfoot Nation, who lived on this land as far east as Regina. But through the processes of colonialism, we're pushed further west, and now all of their communities are in Alberta. So I want to acknowledge their presence, as well as the Nehewak, the Anishinaabe, the Nakota, Lakota, Dakota. MCAS's work serves all of Saskatchewan. So that's treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, some of those bigger treaties than others. We know that most people in Saskatchewan live in treaties 4 and 6. And it also covers all of the regions of the Métis Nation. We gathered together today on Western Region 3. And we really know that all of us can really understand our own responsibility to look at the TRC's principles and calls to action and find our own paths forward, find what's meaningful to us in making our own decisions. MCAS's values are rooted in the provincial motto, "For many people's strength," and the treaty relationships that define our province. We express our values as respect for diversity, recognition and rejection of racism, intercultural connections, and integration. And all of these we understand as being really important in this path forward. When we think about the taking processes of colonialism that's still going on, we think about things that were taken of, they tried to take language, they tried to take ceremony, they tried to take culture, they tried to take family relationships, right? We're still doing that. And in our paths forward, we need to think about how do we work towards making sure that those can, not that we have to give them back, but really support people in cultivating those cultures. And for new people coming in, we don't want to make those same mistakes. We don't want to push policies of assimilation, right? We want all cultures to really be able to thrive in our communities. And that's what makes all of us rich and strong, that we don't have to be the same. MCAS is always honored to participate in work that demonstrates our commitment to truth and reconciliation. We have programming such as education, bridges, welcoming and inclusive communities, a real focus, increasing focus on anti-racism work, intercultural connections, Indigenous perspectives. And we look for opportunities like this evening and lots of other ones where we can bring together people who are established, who have immigrated here over many generations. I was on a Zoom call tonight, or this afternoon, with somebody who said, my family of Scottish heritage, we've been here for 9 generations in this land, right? So some of us from many, many generations, in my case, 3 generations. It's my grandparents' generation that came not even to this land, but to Toronto. I am the first generation on this land. And we look to break down barriers to see our humanity, to see the common future that we want to have together, that needs to be good for every single one of us. We recognize that we're all treaty people, and we look for opportunities to look at impacts of colonialism, how we can undo them, and create something that's different from that, where it's really about all of us. We look to build equity and justice in our institutions and communities. It is essential to commit to this difficult, long-term work to create the communities that are genuinely welcoming, that are respectful, where we all see ourselves, where we're all valued for our contributions. Sometimes that road is not easy, that we need to, as I think I said, sit in discomfort. We need to put ourselves in places where we're not so comfortable, especially those of us who carry privilege here, that we need to allow for those uncomfortable moments where we realize, I think I'm benefiting from someone else's oppression, and learn in that moment and think about, okay, how can I take responsibility for building some change so that that's not happening any longer? I want to acknowledge the work that AMCUS does and the support that we give to our members like the Southwest Multicultural Association, as well as the Southwest Newcomer Welcome Center, who are really, both of those organizations in this regional community are key partners for us. Without these regional multicultural councils like Southwest Multicultural Association, we often don't know what's happening in other regions, right? Like we're a small organization with an office in Regina. We need to know what's happening out here. So I'm really delighted post-COVID to be here in person at an event. And so the funding that we're able to give that Bula talked about is made possible for us to leverage on our priorities with funding from Sask Lotteries through Sask Culture. Without lottery funding, we would not be able to support events like this. I want to thank you for the opportunity to engage in these important discussions about truth and reconciliation and the impacts not only on Indigenous families, but on all of our communities. Because when we create a really equitable society, it will benefit all of us, right? That it's in all of our interests to really build equity. We're at a moment in our history when it's truly time to focus on repairing relationships between immigrant Canadians who've settled here over centuries and Indigenous peoples who have walked these lands since time immemorial. We hope everyone will engage and find this event educational and inspiring to take action. Thank you. Egosi. Hi.
Thank you, Rhonda. As Rhonda mentioned, that the sponsors, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the sponsors without whom we could not host events like this. Our sponsors are from Southwest Multicultural Association that hosts this Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and also to the Nekaneet First Nation. We are indebted for all the support we get from them. Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan, you see Rhonda here. She mentioned Sask Culture and Sask Lotteries, Community Initiative Funds, Chinook School Division, because they are a very strong partner for us, connecting with the schools and the school children. City of Swift Current, you heard Mayor Albright, Southwest Newcomer Welcome Center, as Rhonda mentioned, Great Plains College, Living Sky Casino, Chinook Regional Library, our host tonight here, and Tim Hortons that provided coffee in the morning. So sorry if you don't see Tim Hortons coffee around, because they provide it in the morning. And Starbucks is going to provide coffee at the Market Square tomorrow. So I encourage you to be there to enjoy that coffee. And also Safeway. I would also like to take this moment to talk to you about the students who created the design for this T-shirt. If you have noticed that a few people, like Rhonda was wearing the T-shirt earlier when she was speaking, I'm also wearing it. This T-shirt has been designed by 3 students of the Maverick School. Their names are Alaya Holt, Mickey, Episkanu Pelche, Faith Perry. They gave meaning to this design. If you're thinking, what does it actually mean? So that's what I want to tell you, that if you see people wearing it, you'll know the meaning of it. During the initial consultation for the logo creation, Mick had suggested the outline of the turtle to represent Turtle Island. As you know, Canada is called as Turtle Island by the Indigenous people. So Turtle Island, and Faith proposed the idea of pathway through trees. Alaya combined their thoughts and added the sun to create the final drawing. The trees represent the natural world, which has great importance in Indigenous culture. The pathway through the trees leads to the sun, which depicts moving to the brighter future that reconciliation strives to create. The T-shirt color is green. You must be thinking, why is it green? Any guess, anybody? Green is a very special color. It represents the natural world and is a color associated with healing. We cannot move with the path forward without healing. So this is a very significant. Because language has great importance on the path to reconciliation, it was determined that Indigenous language be used to represent the event's theme, the path forward. So on the t-shirts, we have written Mio Pimotewen Cree and Mio Pimotewen Michif. Michif is the language of the Métis Nation. It means walking in a good way. So thank you to the creators of this very special design that we all are wearing. And I encourage you that if you have a t-shirt, then please wear it again sometime and feel proud about it, that you were here and you know it. And if you, those who aren't wearing a t-shirt and would like one, please leave me your names and phone numbers. If I have any left and you have your size, I'll get in touch with you. It's a very special design. We heard our speakers, Elder Larry Oakes and Elder Dale Mosquito, today earlier, and I would like to call them again to say a few words and answer the questions that you may have for them. We do have somebody who's attending our session virtually, a question for you. There's a question, and whoever feels that it can answer that, please take this opportunity to answer the question. I will first ask the elders to try and give the person an answer that they think would help the person who has asked the question, and then we will just leave it open if anybody wants to further suggest anything. So I'll ask Derek, could you please, the first question will be from a virtual attendee, because we can't see them. Just to tell them we haven't forgotten you, we'd like to have the question from the virtual attendee first. And the question here is from Victoria Marchesini. Hi, I'm new in town. I like the talk. Thanks for teaching me about First Nation history. Have you considered to teach your language in schools?
So awesome question. So languages in schools. If you were to come to my First Nation community, my school is actually all of the land. So for to teach anything that people are curious about, it's awesome. Language kind of comes naturally. Miyup Matsuin is a good example of that. Pimatsuin is life in general, but if you put Miyu, and it's very simple, right? Me, you. Right? So that's how you teach youngsters. Make it interactive. And that's the neat part about being outside. If you want to learn some culinary skills, let's go cook some bannock outside. Want to learn about the healthy component to a diet? Let's go find some cranberries. Cranberries are good for our systems. If you want to talk about the holistic view of First Nations people, let's go outside and let's view the world. Maybe something in particular, the moon, the sun. So everything, we could take them teachings, and I guess the question that we're being asked is, can we take that teaching and put it into a school format? And yes, you can. It's being done already. I notice you got computers here. If I had your password, I'd probably tap into there, and I would pull up Saskatchewan Indian Cultural College, for an example. If I wanted to learn a word in Cree, I would say, what's the word for dog? So the Cree word for dog is atim. Cree word for horse, misatim, big dog. So there's there's a relationship with things that we do. So, and like I said, and the ones that really grasp that knowledge are the young kids. My granddaughter is becoming more and more fluent in Cree. The older generations, well, if you haven't tapped into them at that young age, the odds are not in your favor. But if you keep the interest up, you'll pull them back in. So what I'm saying is, do it in your public schools, do it in your academic schools, and do it in your trade schools. And I think that's what the Great Plains College is. So I like doing things outside. I'm very, like today when we took that walk, you know, that was very awesome to go from point A to point B. That was a learning curve for everybody to see how well we get along. So it's awesome that we can do that. So language in schools, very awesome questions. It is being done, and in some places they're a little bit further ahead than others. So I think I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, the Mother Earth, I guess in the Cree way, we connect through ceremony, and it's done through the Cree language. So in everybody's life, whatever you're doing, there's a spiritual connection to Mother Earth in this part of North America, in this specific tribe. But the only way to know that is to bring in people that do that kind of work. So, I always jump ahead to the actual, what I think is a jump ahead maybe solution. And sometimes it's too far ahead of the current population thinking. But, kids, yes, as Dale said, they're going to learn. But I think as society, we're going to have to put a value to that. Is there a value of being able to speak Cree? Not right now, eh? So, if we were to put you to work, you know about policy, legislation, operational agreements within your organizations, within governments. Do you have any legislative ability to put a 25% increment on an employee that knows how to speak Cree or any other Indigenous language that would actually start doing some of this work and connecting with elders to say, what is it that we can do to acknowledge the area of work that we're in, and also to teach future generation? That might be the key. Because I remember one time back in the 70s, you had to be able to speak French, right, in order to apply for a federal government job. So I don't know. Because right now there's really no incentive to learn the language, because there's a lot of work out there in the traditional way. But who is going to pay you to do that? I'm not saying we have to get paid. But in order to teach a big population of people and a future generation, we are going to need some other helpers. And maybe it's the other communities that can provide that, society, the governments. So when did the first residential school open? Anybody know that? That's about, what, the 1840s, I think?
Was it Ontario?
Yeah. And then when did the last one close?
In Saskatchewan.
1996, right?
Yeah.
George Gordon Reservation near Raymore, Saskatchewan. So how many years is that? 100 plus years, right? So you had a program to eliminate the culture and the language of the First Nations people for over 100 years. So the government were able to do that for whatever reason. So we're saying, can you challenge yourself to ask your leadership, can you put that language back? Can we give some incentive? There'll be a lot of other ways people will grab the language, but this is one of them. An economical, impactful reason to actually do that. Anybody have any ideas? Is that a yes or no, a crazy idea, or? Because we have to do it constructively, right? Yeah, we're gonna keep praying for that. We're gonna keep asking for that to happen, and that somebody will see the real inroads of that. But some of those leaders in the past, that's what they did. They said, this is what we got to do. And basically put everybody to work. That's a put everybody to work kind of question, kind of scenario. Everybody has that responsibility. It isn't just us to teach our kids. our kids are, they're into the modern conveniences of today. Back in the 70s, it was television, but now it's all sorts of phones and whatever sort of connections. Nobody really speaks the language, but if we can give some incentive there. So that's your task, maybe. Next time we meet, see what you did, if anything. See if you challenge yourself. See what kind of rebuttal you get out there. See what kind of looks you get. Kind of crazy looks. What are you talking about, We can't do that. But try it. See what happens. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Elder Larry, because I think that you brought in a very, very important point, that incentive, what motivates people to do something, learn something, can be sometimes an external incentive. And so maybe if there is something like that, more people will learn the language. Because language is key for anybody to be connected, to be successful in life, the language of the land. And that's why I think that is very important. We thank Victoria for her question. But Derek, do you have any other questions? Okay. Now we'd like to throw, ask the group, do you have any questions for any of the people here that could be for Elders Sylvia, Larry, Dale, or for Rhonda? Any questions? Anybody? Yes, please. Yeah.
Can I just make a comment?
Would you like to come on the mic? Are you okay? Yeah, please. Yeah. Come, Jackie. You. Yeah. And they'll be able to hear it then. Yeah. Thank you.
Just listening to what you said about language, I'm in my mind drawing a parallel to French immersion. My kids all went through French immersion from kindergarten to grade 12. And at the time, this happened to be in a town called Nipawin, there was provincial legislation that said if you had X number of parents who signed a petition, I think it was 12, that then the school division was required by law to bring in a French immersion program. So obviously the very same thing could be done with Cree or whichever other First Nations language if sufficient numbers of parents were interested. And that's how it came about. And then at the local level, parents formed an organization called Canadian Parents for French, which was a national organization forming a local chapter to support the French language education. So just what I'm listening to, I'm thinking that's possible. It's just a question of provincial legislation that would make that a requirement of school divisions if there was sufficient demand on the part of parents.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please. Dale? Yeah. Because if you use the mic, then our virtual listeners will be able to listen. Yeah, have a seat there, Jackie, in case you need to.
So one of the things that's popping through my mind is, and this was a question I posed earlier to our other group, how many First Nations are there in Saskatchewan? So there's about 74, 75 First Nations, so reserves. But guess what? You know what the biggest reserves are? Are the urban centers. I'm an old politician, so I haven't updated my thinking. But what I have is old thinking, and what I mean by old thinking is I used to hear information. I've been out of politics for a while. That's why I call myself old. So we had somebody from FSIN that says, I think in the city of, I believe it's Saskatoon. At the time, the numbers was like 20,000 First Nation people in the city of Saskatoon. In PA, that number is probably a little larger. Regina, probably parallel that same numbers. So with what you're saying with getting a number of like 12 moved mountains, imagine what 20,000 can do. And if we follow Larry's request, there's other signatures that back that up. It's not 20,000 anymore. It's all you guys, but you guys are not alone. You guys have parents or grandparents or co-workers, somebody at home. And what I'm hearing now is already the stakeholders are stepping forward to help us achieve that. And to me, that's moving forward. Awesome. I just thought I'd add that.
Would you like to add anything, Jackie? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you for all of you participating. Any further questions from anybody? Okay. If there is no question at this time, because we were not able to hear Lieutenant Governor Russ Marasti's path forward, but we know that the path forward can only happen when we understand what happened in the past. Understand it, acknowledge it, and then make our own decision. Often it is the individual who will have to take that decision, how that person would like to participate. I was wondering, last year we did, what does reconciliation mean to me? How it will affect my life and how can I move forward, as we said. For me, that meant that it would be a life of great value for all of us if we all participated in the spirit of reconciliation in our own way in the path forward. And that's what is most important, leaving nobody behind, but walking hand in hand together and moving ahead. That is my thought. And this is why the Truth and Reconciliation Committee has put forward their ideas of having an event every year so that we don't forget. Time can be also very powerful in reminding and also forgetting. So let's have an event every year at least to remind us that what did we think last year, where am I this year, and what can I do now to move ahead. So that's why we host these events, and if there's any other thought that anybody would like to share now, this you could at this moment is open mic. Yeah? Yes, please, Sylvia. Please come. So Sylvia is our in-house elder, and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
All day long today I've been thinking about what's Turtle Island? What is that about? Do any of you know what Turtle Island represents? So my thought today, while you're all speaking, is how does that look education-wise and information-wise? How do you continue sharing that on a regular basis so people have the opportunity to go to a place or a location where they can learn on a continual basis? And what would that look like to you? Like, because I've been listening to you speaking all day today, and you have shared a lot of information. If you were to come and do more events, what areas would you concentrate on to expand the consciousness of the Swift Current area and the whole Southwest? What areas would you concentrate on is my question. Because to me, I still don't understand Turtle Island. I do understand it a little bit, but what do you think that you see that Swift Current and the whole Southwest could use?
Again, I'm going to put on my politician cap. So, natural resources is my answer to that. And what is Canada's greatest natural resource?
Is it oil or uranium? People.
People.
Oh
People.
my goodness.
People.
Thank you.
And with what the question that Sylvia is asking, so how can we make that connection amongst people? Well, in Nekaneet, we're a very open community. And what I want to share with you guys, and it's actually an invitation, is to come and see us back home, because that's where we flourish, right? You know, that's where we're comfortable, and some of the things that we do. And I call it maybe, I guess lack of a better word, based on geography. So the Nekaneet people, like Larry alluded to earlier, with that terrain that we have, that's all maybe not the best farming, but it is suited for other activities. So what we're engaged in is the 3 C's: community, cultural, calendar. Meaning Nekaneet is involved in ceremony all the time. And if you go back to your logo, Turtle Island, Miupmatsuin, when you put them two together, we're doing that almost on a daily basis. In our homes, we smudge every day. We do get a chance periodically. We do that as families or as individuals, but periodically, we as a community host events, community cultural events. Sundance, the horse dance, sweats, and the list goes on. I think with what's going on today, we're starting to develop that relationship. So, come and sit with us. And we in turn, because when you see us, then everything starts rolling into place. Everything starts fitting into, that jigsaw becomes a little bit more, I guess it finds a comfortable seating. So with us back home, we're involved in that every day. Larry doesn't say it, but his resume, he's our ceremonial leader back home. So right now, we're in ceremony mode. We got some big events coming, and we get all year long, because Dale does not put on a cultural cap from 4 till 8 or 8 till 4. No, this is what I am on day in, day out. So any of the talks that I do pertains to what we call miupamatsuin, that life that we share, and it's learning about each other. So community cultural calendar, like I said earlier, and you can use buzzwords, right? If we're looking at stakeholders, there's usually certain themes or certain flavors that are more, they're more responsive today than they were yesterday. So right now, I think it's land-based. Any proposals you want to do, your proposal writers that are out there, land-based. Ship that off, you'll probably get a good response if you use that. And of course, if you do, add in some other components of that as well too. So I hope that answers your question. We're there all the time. And like Larry said, like Larry alluded to earlier, you're our city as well too. So when we're driving by, when you guys are sleeping, Larry's probably on the road, past your town, drinking your Tim Hortons, eating your KFC, all these good things that you guys have in the city of Swift-Current. So with that, so Larry's going to answer it as well.
Once again, my response to that will be the actual doing part. And learning the language is probably something that'll be further down the road. Meaning, using that scenario of the 150 years of residential schools and all the intergenerational effect. All the people that are in prisons, going into the 60s scoop, child welfare agency now. A lot of our children are in the system because of the non-ability of people to parent that was passed on intergenerationally. While going through that life, they have done some things that probably are not very healthy for them, for their minds and whatnot. So I would answer that question as you need to provide healing from the First Nation perspective. And you need to hire or bring in the practitioners that do that. And these are the medicine people, medicine men, medicine women. You need to have those available, and you'll have all kind of reaction to that. Some supportive and some not supportive. But you bring them in, you let people get used to that. And they'll find their own way there. And you might need to do this for a while, but you'll bring in the community plans also at the same time. But the main thing, you give people the opportunity to heal themselves spiritually through the First Nations cultural way, I'll say, or the ceremonial way. When I say hire, I know that sounds commercialized and everything, but like I say, these people they're already busy. And the fact that Dale mentioned the biggest reserves in Saskatchewan are Prince Albert, Regina, and Saskatoon, North Battleford, Yorkton, right? Most of the populations of First Nations community, 60 or 70% live off reserve. And a lot of them live on reserve. And the funding picture from the federal government look after the on reserve. So most of the people that live in your city, they're making it on their own. So, but you do have the population of people that because of overcrowding, there's not enough houses, there's not enough employment, they move to the cities. They get into a different lifestyle. So it's the province that tries to deal with that. And they have where they exchange envelopes, they say. They send that bill to the federal government. Any First Nations people that go through their service organizations. So it's still being looked after by the federal government, but the provincial government is responsible for administrating those type of situations. Nowhere in the province do they have First Nations traditional help. We tried to do that in Regina when we were there for 15 years. We did presentations like this, and after we were done, somebody would come and talk to me and say, I'm not feeling so well, or somebody in my group is not feeling so well. Can you help them? And I would say, I can't help them, but I know somebody who can. And that was usually a medicine man. So I would take that person to that medicine man, and I would talk to my director. One of our presentations where we accepted tobacco, somebody asked the question. So I followed it up. I didn't throw away the tobacco. I didn't say that's not our job. We don't do that. So that medicine man would say, I need to do a sweat lodge. And they would do it on their own. They never did ask for money. They would bring in their helpers, their elder's helper, the one that looked after the lodge, the one who brought the wood, went and cut the wood, went and collected the rocks. Whoever cooked the food, there was women involved. They came into the lodge. There was about 7 or 8 people that came into the ceremony to help this medicine man, to help that person. So I went to the director and said, can we help those other ones? And you know what? They agreed. They didn't have to change all their policy. So what we did at the time is we made a promise, we'll do 1 sweat lodge a week. So that was we made a spiritual promise. And the organization supported it. So gradually that kind of became familiar with the Regina people, Regina urban people. And then we went to 2 a week. And then we brought medicine men. Every time we brought a medicine man in, they would create a longer lineup. So we would go back to the director, say, we need to bring in 4. And we would have gatherings for 4 days. That's all we were doing, is creating a longer lineup. So when I talk like this, it's not me just doing wishful thinking. It has already happened. It's just that we didn't land it as an actual, program or whatnot. Because there's a lot of people that, they don't seem to agree with these. What I'm saying is real truth. The non-First Nation leadership of the Regina Capel Health Region at the time agreed with it, and they supported it. They resourced it. If we want somebody to cut wood, we said, let's give them $150. If we want somebody to buy food for a sweat lodge, let's give them $150 and $150 to cook. Where did that number 150 come from? Well, we went to Safeway and we bought whatever we needed. It came close to 150. So where I had problems was the First Nations people, the Aboriginal. They had trusting issues. They thought we were giving away our knowledges, that these things shouldn't be done in the city. They have to stay in the reserve, and we're in our vision of a reserve, a medicine man living way in the back over there. Yeah, that exists. But the people we were working with could not even afford a pack of cigarettes to go give to that medicine man if they could get to the reserve. So we used to have these on the edge of the city. And even then they had a difficult time getting a toonie to get on a bus. So these are the people we were thinking about by actually bringing traditional health services delivered. So that can be done. But let's not wait until somebody's unwell or somebody's incarcerated, because society and government has already showed us that they can fund those kind of situations. But can we fund a proactive scenario? A lot of people are going to learn this traditional way, and they're going to share it with each other. And they're going to have access to situations that overwhelm them. There's going to be a medicine man team. You can set that up in a health clinic or whatever, And people will balk at it. They won't jump in and say, yes, I'm going to go there. No, not right away, but they will. But that's where you do the outreach, right? That's where you do presentations. Regina, the city of Regina, they have 4 networks in the city that reach out into the rural community. They also have the rural primary health care. All those little towns east of Regina, north of Regina, they all have a health center. They all agreed to have somebody there, a desk where people could ask for traditional help. And then they would phone me, and I would connect with that person. I was doing a presentation one time, and one of the staff was from one of the reserves. So I asked, what do you think? Is that a good idea? Nobody said anything. But after a while, she phoned my cell. She was needing help. So I was able to connect her with the people that would help her. And I was able to look after the person that I asked to help that person. So we left Regina a year ago. We're back in Nekaneet. So your healing lodge in Regina is essentially this. People still phone there. Dale and the other people from Nekaneet, we still help them. We try to connect them with medicine men. But that's not my job anymore. So we do talk to, we sit with the mayor's office, and they do talk of, the YWCA is going to build a healing center of some sort. And the city is thinking of one, the aquatic center, they're going to build something there. But I tell people, don't stop because you think somebody's building something. Because a medicine man team or a healing center has a capacity. They might be able to look after 400 or 800 people annually at whatever resource picture you guys put together. But that's capacity. Don't ask them to do 1,500. Build another team. And house these people in the kind of facilities that they need. So that's government society challenge. You can do these things. Regina can do it. We're going to be building a sweat lodge in Waccamaw Valley in Moose Jaw. That'll be in June or maybe July. So they're asking they had a feast already. So we're kind of going into the different ceremonies we do just to come up with ideas. What are we going to do? So Swift Current has to speed up a little bit. Moose Jaw's ahead of you. But we're willing to do whatever we need to do. But that's the main thing, to talk about it. I don't know what it is that Swift Current's going to do. We were already here with the SAS Power on your power plant on the hill over there towards Leader. We got an elder to do a pipe ceremony, but he told us we got to do a pipe ceremony. He said one east of the city and one by the river. So we did that. We did one in Herbert and we did one in Leader. Then we had a feast in the site there where the plant is. The reason he did that, he said the spirits that used to live here, that's the ones that instructed him to do that. And you guys know there's a big grave site kind of north of the auction yards over there? We didn't know that, but that elder knew it. So there's already a connection. That elder actually, he knows of the history of the land, of the different chiefs, the different tribes that used to live in different parts of southern part of the province. Moose Jaw, it's Chimaskus. I guess there was a chief that was called that, Short Stick. First time I heard of that person. But there is Swift Current, you do have that history too. So when I say, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to get told what we need to do. And that will provide health for the young people. I and Dale, we're just talking about some of the things the young people do now. Some of the things that they take. It's dangerous. So where's the help coming from? We have all the counseling help, we have all the treatment help, but still people are still doing whatever. And even those places have a limited capacity. So we're going to have to buddy up and join up somehow. So our young people, maybe they don't wait until they're fully addicted or they have mental issues. Maybe if they know there's a medicine man place over there, they'll kind of go on their own, or their friend already went and they'll talk to each other. We have to allow those kind of dynamics to happen. So that's what I'm asking of society. the non-First Nation neighborhood society. What is it that you can do? We're going to keep going and doing whatever we need to do. But if we join up together like our history has already done for us, there's a lot more we can do. And that's the advantage we have by being in the southwest corner. We don't really have to consult with anybody, other First Nations yet. We're the only ones here. Let's talk. When I said develop a policy that will provide salary increments to somebody that talks Cree in your organization, guess what? You can be the first that does that. When you give an elder a tobacco and he talks, he doesn't just talk to you just for the sake of talking. He's telling you what to do. And you should have considered that before giving me that tobacco. If you consider me an elder, I'm telling you what to do. That's why I talk like this. Our elders, that's how they are from Nekaneet. They didn't just give you phrases. They put you to work. So that's what I'm doing here. Go find some answers. If you get a no answer, that's okay. At least you tried. But there's got to be something different that we got to do that's going to be a lot more stronger that's been happening before. And we've been involved with the organizations. We work with the Canadian Army, the Bold Eagle Camp. Over 100 participants each year, and there's a waiting list of 2,000. That's over 30 years, so how many people are waiting to get into that camp? Dale and myself, we run a cultural camp. So these kids are, they're the top cut of our society. Very few sign up for the Army, but nonetheless, these guys are going to universities. They're going to be lawyers, doctors. But those are the kind of people we work with. And then in Regina, we try to help out with the people that are just released out of, institutions. But we don't tell them anything. We don't tell them, this is what you got to do. We told them, let's build a sweat lodge together. We'll tell you how to do it, but you guys build it. However it looks, that's your sweat lodge. And I'm not going to instruct anything for you to do. I'm not going to give you orders. We have to get to know each other first. Once we get to know each other, then we'll see what kind of work ethic we have and the kindness that we're going to, introduce ourselves to everybody with. Then we can start going to work. So I consider this as, getting to know each other. See if we even appreciate each other. Maybe we disagree, but that's okay to disagree. But like I said, this is not for us. This is for the young people. If we can build something into the current systems that's not there today, maybe we've done something. And we come here to say, hey, we're willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Rhonda? Yeah.
I don't think I have a question, but I have another thought that, from my own learning, that I want to share with you because I think it could be helpful in terms of the path forward. In the learning that I've had the opportunities to do, one of the First Nations perspectives on the treaty is that they're kinship agreements, that they make us relatives. And so when we think about our roles on this land, in our communities, in engaging with Indigenous people, to think about being a good treaty relative can be a really helpful perspective. That if we think about how do we want to treat our kin, how do we want to treat people in our family, and seeing each other as family, and seeing that we want everyone in our family to really succeed and thrive and really be who they can be, that could help us on this path forward. And so that was just a thought that kept coming up to me, and so I thought I'd like to share that as part of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. That's a very good thought. I think many of us will take it and also think about it and maybe adopt it, because it is that kinship. You said a part of the treaty. Yes, I didn't know that. So there is a big learning. And this kinship is what, will help us to move forward. So before I conclude today's evening's program, I'd like to mention that tomorrow we have another event that is focused on the Métis Nation of our Southwest Saskatchewan. So I invite you to come in the morning if you can to Great Plains College. It will start at 9:30 in the morning, and then we go to Market Square, and there will be also cultural program, round dance, and also the students will read the calls to action, and there'll be lunch served, and in the evening like this it will be another discussion time with the presenters who will be talking in the morning. So please write down in your agenda something that you can do to participate and support us. We can talk about a lot of things, but without you being here to listen and participate, it will not have its effect. So I thank all those who participated virtually tonight, and also all those who are here and being a part of your community discussion on the path forward that is so important. Thank you for coming, and we do hope you have a very good evening, and we hope that you will come back tomorrow. Thank you, and special thanks to our elders. And I was wondering, Sylvia, do you want to do a closing blessing? Yes, yeah, please.
I'm not sure how to say so long. Mantu, ekipa tatuma, kai suepin getchikoge. Mantu antoihtak pakauyak kawichitach, kan tohtahkek wistawau. En nohte anstohtahkek michat. Kan mantua pakauyak ekipeto atuta. I'm just praying, I'm just telling you what I said in prayer, that the Creator wants reconciliation. The Creator brought everybody here, and that the Creator wants people to understand and to help each other, to understand each other, to understand reconciliation. And that the Creator wants reconciliation because it's an honorable thing to do with each other as human beings. And to bless all the speakers that are here, because as an elder, you do feel the responsibility to share the wisdom and the kindness and human compassion to each other, and this is how we do it. Hi, akse.
Thank you, Sylvia. So we just bring our program to a close. There's still coffee there and some dainties left. So please feel free to stay back and have a conversation if you would like. And if anybody would like a T-shirt and doesn't have one, don't hesitate to leave me your phone number and the size. We might be able to find you one. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
you.